What's going on? Patrick Wilson back with another video. Thank you for checking out the video and any other video that you have checked out in the past. If this is your first time being here, I talk about the realistic aspect of fitness, how to lose fat, build muscle in a realistic way, and what you really need to be focusing on. In today's video, we are talking about whether you should just track calories when you want to lose weight or fat, or if you should track all of your macros, calories, or protein, carbs, fats, when you want to make progress. So, with that said, we're going to talk about the differences between them, what they are, and then what you should actually do, what you should track. So first things first, calories are what make up any and all foods. It is the energy storage that is related to the foods that you're consuming or drinks you are consuming, whereas the macros are what make up those calories. So it's going to be the macronutrients, the main nutrients that make up those calories. So then, you do have the proteins, the carbohydrates, the fats that make up the amount of calories that you're taking in, and each macronutrient has a different amount of calories per gram. So per gram of protein it's 4 calories, per gram of carbs it's 4 calories, and then per gram of fat it is 9 calories. So a lot of times you'll see in the bodybuilding space or just fitness space that people are using MyFitnessPal or something like that to really diligently track their macros, and they have a very specific number of macros or amount of macros that they're trying to hit. So say they're trying to hit like 150 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, and 50 grams of fat, and they try to perfect that amount and hit that amount perfectly. Whereas a calorie goal, you're not really worrying too much about the amount of any of those things. It's just like, all right, if I hit this calorie goal, then we're good. So there are benefits to both of them, and I'm going to dive into each of that. So with the macro side of things, you want to make sure you're getting enough protein because it helps you build and retain muscle so that you actually look lean and look good and look how you want as you do lose weight from your body and mass from your body. And it does help you to be more full for the calories you're taking in. Protein, higher protein foods are a lot more filling, so it's important to make sure you're getting enough protein and to track that macro. Fats are also good to track and be aware of because you need to get enough higher fat foods into your diet in order to maintain good sexual functions. I know that sounds kind of crazy to say or crazy to hear, but in order to actually be able to, your hormones to be able to perform correctly and for you to be functioning correctly, you need to get enough fat in. It also helps with overall brain health, with joint health. It's a very necessary thing to make sure you're getting enough fat in. There are times where people don't get enough fat in and they lose their sex drive or they lose their period. A lot of bad things can happen if you're crazy low fat. So I want to make sure you're getting enough fat in. And for women, men, normally you want to be getting around 0.25, 25 to 30% of your calories ideally you would want to be from fat. So just keep that in mind. 20 to 30% want to be from fat. So keep that in mind. And then carbs, really, technically you could go without them with your body. You need them for some energy, but those are the kind of the last thing you should worry about as far as what the specific numbers should be. But that doesn't mean you should completely cut out carbs whatsoever. So when you're aware of macros, it's good to be aware of protein, fats, and then carbs or whatever. You don't need to worry about it as much as people say you do. But then total calories, it's great because you don't have to dive too much into the nitty-gritty of all that stuff. If you're aware of total calories just in general, you can just look at a nutrition label and be like, oh, this has 200 calories for a serving. Or go to McDonald's or Chipotle or whatever restaurant you go to or make food at home, and you're like, all right, this meal has 500-600 calories. As long as it fits within my calorie goal for the day, I'm going to make progress. Macros, you got to dive a little bit more in depth with it. And you got to, most of the time when people are tracking macros too, they try to be super specific, where calories, you can kind of guesstimate it a little bit better. It's a little bit easier to do that. So with all that said, there are benefits and kind of negatives to each of them, but what I would do is, and this is what I do for myself, with my clients, with everyone I work with, I've done both of them. I've done the thing where you track all of your macros super in depth and super intently and try to perfect the numbers. But instead, what you want to do is 3 different things actually. I'm going to give you 3 things to do when you're trying to track your food in order to make progress with your fat loss and fitness goals. So the first thing is that you want to just track calories and protein. So you're not going to track the fats, you're not going to track the carbs, alcohol, calories, anything like that. You're going to track the calories from, you're not going to track the specific amount of grams for each of those things. So this helps to give you more flexibility day to day, because oftentimes a lot of people get so caught up in all right, I have to have 200 grams of carbs and 50 grams of fat or else I completely failed that day. Whereas when you're just tracking calories with a range in mind, you can be like, all right, I'm going to hit between 2,000 and 2,200 calories, regardless of if it's from carbs, fats, anything like that, and you're going to make progress on your goals. So once you track calories with the range in mind, that's the first thing. The second thing is that you're going to just track protein. Basically, you want to track protein as the sole macro that you're having, because most of the time you're probably, if you're not actively aware of getting in a good amount of protein, the amount of protein I'd recommend to get in is 0.6 grams per 1 pound of body weight. And then if you can get closer to around 1 gram per 1 pound of body weight, that's great. But again, with that range, 0.6 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, most people aren't getting that in just intuitively eating. So that's why you want to be mindful of that when you're tracking your nutrition in order to make progress. So here's the quick summary rundown of what we got so far. So want to make sure you are tracking total calories. That gives you more flexibility. Track calories with a range in mind. So have about 150 to 200 calorie range you're working with, and if you're within that goal, you're perfect, you're gonna make progress. Number 2 is tracking protein, making sure you're getting enough protein in. And then number 3 doesn't really revolve around tracking, but you wanna make sure you're getting in some healthier foods on a day-to-day basis. So at least like one meal that has fruits or veggies, ideally a couple meals that have fruits and veggies. And that's gonna help you to have flexibility with your meals and with your tracking. Make sure that your meals are gonna be relatively filling for a lower amount of calories. So with that being said, there are benefits to both of them, whether you should track calories or macros. However, for most people, tracking macros super in-depth and making sure you're perfectly hitting these numbers is not necessary or realistic or reasonable or fun. It can be very overwhelming when you want to make progress. So what I would recommend again is just track calories, just track protein, try to work in some relatively healthy stuff, and you're gonna make plenty of progress. Hopefully that helps. Let me know what questions you have. Again, like the video, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Sincerely appreciate you. Until next time.